You know, when most of us think of Gulliver's travels, we remember the fun adventure stuff from when we were kids, right? The giants, the tiny people. But that's not the whole picture. Not even close. The final chapter is this incredibly dark, psychological journey that leaves you with a really chilling question. What happens when you travel so far that you can't find your way home, even when you're literally standing in your own house?
And this one line from Gulliver himself, it just says it all. It captures the entire tragedy of his return. Think about it. He survived these impossible journeys all over the world, only to discover that the strangest, most alien world of all was the one he left behind. This is the story of a mind completely unmade by what it had seen.
So, his journey back to civilization, you'd think it would start with relief, right? Not at all. It begins with this profound system-wide shock. After he's rescued at sea, his very first contact with other humans is just deeply, deeply unsettling. He's become a total stranger to his own species.
The very first thing that hits him is the noise. I mean, after spending years with the Huyannems, this race of perfectly rational, calm, quiet, horse-like beings, the sound of a human voice just feels coarse. It's overwhelming. The sailors yelling and laughing, it's like a full-on sensory assault to him.
And then comes the physical contact. When the sailors pull him onto the ship, their touch feels so rough, almost violent. He actually recoils from it instinctively. And of course, his rescuers just mock him for it, calling him as jumpy as a young horse. He's just not used to it anymore. And it's not just the sound and the touch. He starts watching how they act. To him, their emotions are just chaotic, impulsive. Their arguments and their jokes seem tangled up in vanity. He doesn't see his own people. He sees the brutish, ape-like wahoos he learned to hate in the land of the Huyannems. And that's all he can manage to whisper: too much noise. It's his summary for the entire human race. And it's not just the sound, It's the emotional noise, the chaos, the sheer unfiltered humanity of it all that his brain just can't process anymore. He's completely overloaded.
Okay, so if being on that ship was a shock, arriving home, that's where the real torment kicks in. The one place that should have been his sanctuary becomes the stage for his greatest tragedy. The alienation he felt at sea is about to get incredibly personal.
And the details here are just heartbreaking. I mean, look at this. He physically flinches when his own wife tries to hug him. He sits through family dinner, and the normal sounds of his family eating and talking are just unbearable to him. And worst of all, when he looks at his own kids playing, he doesn't see innocence. He sees the impulsive, messy traits of the yahoos. And this right here, this is the core of his whole problem. His mind is now permanently split in two. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. He's judging everyone, including his own family, against the impossible standard of the Huyannems. To him, our world is all passion, chaos, vanity, and noise. And he is desperate for the reason, calm, truth, and order he was forced to leave behind. So this all leads to this one absolutely devastating scene. Gulliver is having these horrible night terrors. He's seeing visions of screaming, clawing yahoos. His wife, seeing him in so much pain, wakes him up and gently asks him, "What frightens you so?" She's just trying to reach the man she loves, to understand what's happened to him. And his answer, it's just one word: humanity. It's not a monster. It's not some past danger. His greatest fear is now his own species, the very thing he is. And that just reveals the true depth of his trauma. He's completely cut off from the world. So what do you do when you just can't reconcile your new reality with your old life? Well, Gulliver makes a final, very deliberate choice. He starts to pull away from society, from his family, to build a new kind of home, a refuge where he can maybe finally find some peace. And look how methodical this is. This isn't just a sudden fit of madness. These are conscious, logical steps. He rejects his family home, he builds himself a shelter in the stable, he chooses the company of horses over people. For him, this isn't a breakdown, it's a survival plan. And the climax to all this is this one final, tragic scene. His wife is standing there in the rain, just sobbing, begging him to come back inside the house. And he stands in the doorway of his stable with his horses, and he tells her, very gently but firmly, "I am home." He's made his choice. So as the years go by, Gulliver starts to reflect on this incredible, life-altering journey he took. It was like a montage of different identities. First, yeah, he was a giant among the small people of Lilliput, where his size made him powerful, but ultimately an alien. Then he remembers the roles were completely flipped. He became a toy among giants in Brobdingnag. Just a little curiosity, a plaything, always at the mercy of being so much bigger than him. Again, reinforcing that feeling of being an outsider. But it was his last identity that was the one that truly remade him. In the land of the Houyhnhnms, he saw himself as a Yahoo among horses. He was confronted with this ideal of pure reason, and it forced him to see his own species and himself as flawed, chaotic, and just base. But he wraps up his reflection with this one crucial insight. His journey wasn't just a string of weird adventures. It was a philosophical quest. He was a seeker of truth. And what he found changed him, fundamentally and forever. So at the end of the day, Gulliver's story leaves us with this really profound and unsettling idea. His real tragedy wasn't the shipwrecks or being captured, it was enlightenment. He simply saw too much, he learned too much, and his mind was stretched so far that it could never shrink back to fit into the small box of his old life. It's a powerful reminder that the cost of experience can be permanent, and sometimes it can be incredibly painful.